Hey, friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you for some positive encouragement for vibrant living. I found that what holds most of us back is our attachment to the past. We may have these regrets. We may feel guilt. We may wish that we had done certain things or that we hadn't done certain things. We may have gone through certain experiences that really had an impact on us, maybe a lifelong traumatic impact that we wish that we could just erase from our minds. We may have done something that we wish we could erase from our minds, or we have been ruminating about, meaning we go over it again and again and again. It is such a common and understandable experience in our lives to go through our past, to review our actions, and unfortunately, to keep ourselves sort of prisoners of our own past. So, what I want to do is help you today be free from those past things that have been holding you back. And one thing that we always hear in our life is that you can't change the past. You can't change the past. You just have to put it behind you and move on. And I have a very different approach to this, which I want to share with you in just a moment. As I was saying, being beholden to our past is one thing that can really prevent us from moving forward. And unfortunately, what happens for a lot of people is that their past experiences can color their future possibilities. And what I mean by that is, let's take an example where you made a decision that you regret. And now that you're going forward in your future, with any decision going forward, you might hem and haw and literally feel paralyzed about making this decision because you don't want to make the wrong decision. Again, this is a very common experience. Many people share that, and it's understandable because we want to do things right. By the way, I do have a video on this channel, a series of videos called How to Make a Decision. And that is something that I've I've used these techniques in my own life, and it has been so helpful. So I will have a link for you on that below. But take just a moment and think about one of those things that you keep thinking about that might be a past regret, a past action, maybe an action that you didn't take, something that you wish you had done differently. And think about how that has colored your life. Sometimes things have happened to us. I would say many times things have happened to us, or people have done things, they've betrayed us, they've harmed us, and we want to wipe that from our memory as well. And I am never, ever advocating that you marinate in what you have been through. If you feel that you have moved on and that is a closed chapter, it, take it from me. I'm not asking you to go back and relive anything whatsoever. You may have had that wound that healed. But for those of us that may have things in our past that we still are just hanging on to, whether we're doing it knowingly or unknowingly, here is the superpower that I want to share with you. First of all, I want you to eliminate that idea of you can't change your past, because what you can do is you can change the way you look at it, and you can change its meaning. I'm going to give you a personal story that is still very raw and heartbreaking, even though this happened. Oh my gosh, let me count up the years. 5, 50, over 25 years ago, well over 25 years ago. And I'll speak about it in generalities, but let's just say that I made a decision to give something away that I didn't want to give away. And I knew that I didn't want to give it away because my own heart and soul was gripped with this decision. And I felt pressured by others to do so. Okay, I'm not talking about a child or anything like that, but I didn't want to give this away. I wanted to keep it and I wanted to integrate it into my life, but others were telling me that it wasn't very practical. And through my own lack of emotional maturity, because I was a young adult at the time, I thought that other people knew better than I did. And I reluctantly went along with what I was being pressured to do. And I have lived with heartbreak and regret for over 25 years about this scenario. And I often have replayed in my mind, why did I do this? Why didn't I do it differently? I should have listened to myself, and so forth. So I have a choice of letting that eat away at me and hold me back. I can use it as a touch point for self-punishment and deprecation and self-loathing and constant criticism. And I can use it as a way to validate that I don't make good decisions and I can't trust myself and that I'm a weak person. And I have done all of that. And maybe you have too. But the fact is, all of that is a choice. Everything and all of the emotions and all of the way I talk to myself after the event, all of that actually was a choice. I may not have realized it at the time. I may have thought that, of course, I'm going to feel this way and treat myself this way because it was the only suitable and appropriate way that I should. But as I've grown in my own self knowledge, my own emotional and spiritual maturity, my own understanding of how I can look at those past actions with compassion, with understanding, as if I had a loved one come to me and say, Peggy, I did this thing or I didn't do this thing and I regret it and I need some support. I need somebody to understand me. I can be that person for myself. That may sound a little strange. And the way that I've done this is through journaling. And I've also had conversations. I've had conversations with that younger person. I've had tears. I've had heartbreak where the younger person is speaking to me now, saying, this is what I did. This is what I regret. This is what I wish I had done differently. And instead of me, the adult, the current Peggy, having a response of self-loathing and how could you be so stupid and why did you do that? You should have known better. I already went through all of that for many years, the self-punishment. Now I can look at that younger self, that person at that time and say, I am so sorry you had to go through that. It was horrible that you were put in that position. My heart is with you that you thought you were doing the right thing. I know that you relied on the counsel and judgment of others. I know that you betrayed your own sense of desire. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I'm here for you now. I will never leave you. I understand your sorrow and I am empathizing and I feel so compassionate for you at that time. You know, poor Peggy. I literally will voice those things. I will feel those things. I will hear those things. And then another way of doing it, as I mentioned, is to write it out. Now, this can be very painful, and I do recommend that you do it in smaller steps if needed, or have some necessary support from a caring friend. Maybe you could have these conversations with a loved one where you actually talk about what you did or didn't do, or what happened to you or what didn't happen to you, and to literally process these things. And here's the most important thing of all. This is where the empowerment comes from. Instead of just, I believe it's important to have that validation, the empathy, the sympathy, the compassion, the it's okay now, you poor thing. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. You didn't know better. You did the best at the time, even if you regretted it. I believe for my own experience, that has helped me tremendously shed. I'm not going to say I'm 100% over these things, but it has allowed me to integrate it into my life and not carry it with me like a bowling ball attached to my ankle, pulling me under or preventing me from moving ahead in life. So here's the point. The most important thing is from that turning point, you can say, here is what I've learned, and here is how I am doing things differently. I look at that time in my life and I look at that experience almost as a sacrifice, that what happened was almost a sacrifice that has now helped me develop, improve, dare I say, evolve into a more mature, understanding, thoughtful, considerate. I take more time with my decisions. I don't make them frivolously. I don't do them because of what somebody else wants me to do. That was a turning point in also no more people pleasing, because people pleasing is a type of lie where you're not really being true to yourself or your God-given conscience or your own goals and desires and dreams, but you're doing what somebody else wants. So that's actually not very helpful or even honest. So I use these experiences in my life and I will change what they mean. So instead of having that experience mean that I was weak minded and I gave in and I wasn't true to myself and I blah, 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 I can turn it around to say, that was a turning point for me. In the future, I will remember how I felt being pressured, giving in, giving up, feeling coerced, going against my God given conscience. And now I know that going forward, I'm going to take more time, I'm going to reflect more carefully, and I'm going to move from a place of confidence and conviction for what is right for me. I look at that past experience, I bless it, I pray over it. I thank God for helping me develop and become smarter and more capable going forward. Friends, it's not an easy fix, but it is something that has helped me in my life move ahead. And you may be saying, well, Peggy, it sounds like it's the opposite, that now you're going to maybe be stuck in making decisions because you don't want to make the wrong one. Friends, I have learned that when I pray about things, when I journal about things, when I ask myself this question, which decision brings me peace? That's how I act. Some people will say, well, neither one brings me peace. Both of them make me feel anxious. I don't know what the right decision is. I feel upset, or both of them bring me peace. So if each decision or each choice or each step going forward brings you peace, then it's you're lucky. It's fine. Both of these choices are going to be awesome. And I will also say this, a quick recap of making decisions going forward. It's very important that you decide to like your decision. You can move ahead in life with excitement and joy and anticipation, a sense of what I call cheerful curiosity. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen next. And if you decide that that is going to be your default, then there is no going back on your decision. Even looking back on this one scenario that there's my little teddy bear. Let me see if I can take care of her. One great decision I have in my life is that I kept that little teddy bear when I found her as an abandoned puppy in a rough part of town. She was 4 or 5 weeks old, starving, dirty, unhealthy, nursed her back to health. And she's been with me for 13 years. And I kept her because in previous decisions in my life that may not have been the right decision, now I know to follow my God-given conscience and what is going to bring me peace. What I wanted to say was this, friends, looking back at those situations where you wish you had done something differently, or you wish you hadn't done something, or you wish something hadn't been done to you, or you wish something had been done for you, for example, here's what I want to leave you with. We never know the road not taken. I may be looking back at this decision I made 25 plus years ago with regret. But the fact of the matter is, it could have been better than expected. It may have turned out to be the best thing ever because we don't know. If I had done something differently, perhaps there could have been an accident or there could have been a tragedy. Even if you have experienced a tragedy, there may have been something even more tragic if you hadn't taken those steps. So we never know what the case may be. I will just leave you with an example of somebody that I know. So I used to be very active in a grief share community where I was working through my own losses and I was helping others go through their losses and on a volunteer basis through a small fellowship at a church. And it was really wonderful where we had compassionate support for each other. And I do remember one story. I'll just keep it a little bit vague and won't use all of the details, but let's just say that there was a woman whose husband tripped down the stairs, ended up in the hospital, and unfortunately didn't survive. And what bothered her so much is that she was encouraging him to go somewhere, and he was a little bit reluctant. He didn't really want to go. And she's like, oh, come on, it'll be fun. And then he tripped and fell down the stairs, and she could not get over that guilt that she was the one really encouraging him to go, and then he tripped down the stairs. Well, it turns out that he had a heart attack. It wasn't that he tripped down the stairs and therefore had an accident and had to go to the hospital. The heart attack is what caused him to trip down the stairs, because that's what was found out later. So the heart attack could have happened while they were in the car. He could have been driving, and this is years ago before the cocktails. Maybe it was related to a previous cocktail. I don't know. But that heart attack could have happened while he was driving the car. They both could have died. They could have had an accident where maybe a family was taken out in a horrendous accident. So I don't like to compare or rank things or minimize anyone's loss at all. And I know you're not misunderstanding me. I know you understand that I'm just using this as an example where she was stuck in her regret and remorse and deep soul anguish, thinking that she had caused this fatal accident, where the truth of the matter is she didn't. And we never know the road not taken. It could have been an even greater tragedy. For some people, reframing it and looking at the bigger picture, and it doesn't have to always have to do with death. It could be something, you know, like selling a house or leaving a job or getting a divorce or moving or anything along those lines that you may regret. You know, you sold a car and something like that. But the point is, we never know the road not taken. It may have been that this is exactly how God wanted it. So often in my, because I've had many experiences and regrets over my entire life. So one thing that helps me a lot is I will say to myself, this is exactly how God wanted it. This is exactly how he wanted it. What if this is the best way it could have turned out? And I know there are going to be those of you that say, Peggy, I can't even believe you're saying that what I went through or what a loved one went through, how could you even say that was something good? I'm not saying it was good, but maybe that's exactly how God wanted it. And just perhaps it could have turned out even worse than expected. So on that happy note, I hope that you will take away my comments in a spirit of support, compassion, deep understanding, validation, and hope, so that going forward, you can come to terms with these things that have been holding you back in your past. One thing that I love about my husband, Pastor David, is he lives life in like going forward. He'll use the rear view mirror to look back, but he is not a person that is obsessed. He does not have a compulsion to rehash what went. He says, my life is in the future. And even with, you know, friendships and let's say maybe extended family members that haven't seen things the way that we have over these last few years, he's excited about the new friends that we've made, the healthy American family that we've created, the thousands and thousands of people that we have helped through our teachings on rights and the laws that defend those rights and how you can apply those laws to protect your rights. So he is focused on the future, and that is something that encourages me. So I hope that this was an encouragement for you, friends. I love our Monday get-togethers. Please tell others, because I really would like this channel to grow. It's possible that my main channel, The Healthy American, you know, as time goes on, YouTube doesn't really like the truth that I share there. So I really want to continue to expand my original teachings before I came up with The Healthy American, where I encouraged people in a positive manner to take control of their lives, to let go of perfectionism, to let go of clutter, to let go of excess weight or problems that are holding them back. So I am going to be expanding more and more of my work into my Living Swell, you know, healthy outlook. And I'm so grateful to have you on board. So thank you, everyone. As you know, I'm always on the main channel, The Healthy American, with Peggy Hall at 5 p.m. Pacific during the week nights, I guess weekdays, afternoons. And I look forward to seeing you again, always over at thehealthyamerican.org. See you soon, everybody.